So the beginning of the Praise Center. Well, our church started in the living room of my Aunt Lorena's house. It was actually on East Spring Street in Baker Street, kind of where Baker splits off. And a neat story about that, my wife Lynn, she actually lived in an apartment. Throughout the years, they had renovated that house into a few apartments. And so when I met Lynn and started dating her, I realized that she was living in the basement of my Aunt Lorena's house, which is where the Praise Center got its origins from. That's where it started.
Okay, so Daddy started the church in my Aunt Lorena's house. I really don't remember that. I was 2 years old.
So as we grew, we moved into a building over by Peters and Foster's, which is now the VFW Building, where all the old men meet and tell war stories. And that was subsequently when the Gooch family came to be part of the ministry.
Yeah, that building behind Peters and Foster's, that did seem kind of a big building. Yeah, when you look at it now, it's tiny, and it's just like, what was I thinking? It was basically 2 rooms, and one room was a sanctuary, other room was just where everything else happened, and I think a nursery maybe in the back. But man, yeah, I remember that's when we first showed up at the Praise Center, was during that time.
Then we moved to that little building near Peters Foster. I think it's the VFW building. No memory of that either. I saw a picture one time with me sitting on some old lady's lap, but that's about it.
All right, so we start growing and we get to the point where we buy this huge, creepy building up on a hill above where Captain D's is now in Monroe, right on West Spring Street.
Man, that building was awesome. I love that building. It was kind of creepy, yes, but it had all these little rooms in the back and in a safe where me and Brett locked ourselves in there several times, having to you can't get out from the inside, so we had to have somebody get us out every time.
It was kind of creepy. It was full of little rooms which were full of other little rooms and a safe that you could lock yourself into, and they would have to come in and dynamite you out practically.
Now the church on the hill, I remember that one. That's where I grew up.
And it used to be like a disco or some kind of bar. So it was crazy. There was this big bar in one of the back rooms and mirrors and disco. But I had a walk-in safe. I remember that. I remember Travis and I locked ourselves in there I don't know how many times. It was crazy.
Okay, I remember at the old creepy church, it was like really weird how the nooks and crannies were. And back in this one little nook and cranny where the water fountain was that had a sneak door to the sanctuary, I don't know if y'all remember that, but there was this huge walk-in safe. And I remember going in there and playing, and I think Daddy used to keep like documents in there and stuff, but I would get in there and I would look through all that stuff like I wasn't supposed to, but I did. And then there was this one room that had this like weird shaped curve, and that was the bar. We had Sunday school in that room. We did. It
was like this big disco dance hall to begin with, a club, and it had a bar set up, and I remember our dads grabbed the sledgehammers and they just wailed on that bar and just took it down, and took it down in the name of Jesus. And man, that building had so much character. Awesome growing up there.
There was this huge yard in the front. You can still see the yard, and man, we had some incredible football games out there in that yard. And large side of the building there, or not the front of the building, we used to play this silly game with a tennis ball called Bottoms Up, where we would just beam each other with these tennis balls. What were we thinking? I don't know.
So the big teenage brat kids, they would always play this game called Bottoms Up. And that was where they would throw these tennis balls and head the stank out of people, whoever didn't touch the wall or however it was played, because the little sisters and the little kids didn't get to play. So we always climbed the tree that was right beside them and watched them play Bottoms Up.
And there was easy access to the roof. We were constantly on the roof for some reason. I don't recall why, but we were always up there screwing around on the roof doing things. And of course the best part about the building was all the property behind it, which had nothing to do with the church at all, but there was this big creek and all these trees that had fallen across there. We used to spend 4 and 5 hours down there at a time. till we could hear people up at the top of the hill yelling for us, "Hey!" And that was always great.
And I remember, we'd drive up in the parking lot, and I can hear my mom now, "Do not get in that creek." And that was the first place we'd head to.
And our parents would always say, "Don't go to that creek. Don't you go." What would we do? We'd be going down there.
And when sometimes we wouldn't even make it back before church started, and we'd be just dead meat. We'd walk in, our pants all muddy, shoes soaking wet, but hey, those were the days.
I remember one time we came back from the creek and we missed the whole service. Me and Brett and Todd and Chad and some other kids, we missed the entire service. We come back up the hill from the creek and all our parents are in the parking lot standing like this, looking at us like, "You boys think your pants are wet now from